Welcome back to Safas Unscripted. The international rugby season is here, ready to go. Of course, not the best team in the world playing, not the second best team in the world playing, but all the rest. We've got the Six Nations. We'll do a Six Nations preview for you guys. Now, of course, take this with a grain of salt. We are not from the Northern Hemisphere. As you know, this is Safas Unscripted. Welcome to Brett Burns and Brevan Arps. I'm Casual Bias Rugby. Boys, before we jump straight into the Six Nations, have we started watching the documentary on Netflix?
Yes, we have. And I don't know. So we obviously used to, sorry, I'm going to go on a rant here. And yes, people are going to think, oh, Brett's negative, Burns is negative again, but it is what it is. We obviously used to the documentary called Chasing the Sun. What gives you, it's a roller coaster ride. You go from super happy to crying your eyes out to, it's intense the whole time. And then you watch the Six Nations documentary where they focus on Genge driving in his car and he's trying to shove a whole burrito in his mouth while talking to someone. And I just cringed. Like, he's like chowing, and then opens up a can of cool drink and then just starts chowing again. Like, oh, I know it's got nothing to do with rugby, but yes, that just put me off of the whole thing. And therefore, I could not watch anything further because I knew if that's how it's starting, it's going to be absolute dog shit.
So I can only say I've watched 2 episodes, and from what I've seen so far, they produced the documentary very well. But obviously, we want to chat about the rugby aspect of it as well. And the Six Nations wasn't surprising to us the last season. Six Nations, we knew Ireland and France were going to be number 1 and 2, and so they're trying really hard to make it dramatic, but not much. I mean, there's not much to it. But let's see what the next Six Nations that is happening starting this weekend is going to bring for us, because I'm sure we might see a few upsets. I've got a feeling there might be just a few.
Well, the thing is, like, it's tough to compare it to Chasing the Sun because we are a bit biased when it comes to this because we have like an emotional connection to it. We just watched the Netflix doc for a good Netflix documentary. So I've only watched 2 episodes. I'm definitely planning on watching the rest, but I'm watching it with my girl who is English. So like, it's 2 different perspectives when it comes to this whole thing. I just think, just speaking about the first 2 episodes, this might sound controversial, but they focused on Finn Russell like he's the shit when it comes to rugby. And this is controversial, but I don't even think he's the best 10 in the Six Nations. Never mind right. Best 10 that like everyone's planning out like in the world. I don't have an issue with him saying, people say he's the Messi of Scotland. I mean, it's a joke. People get over it. So people are definitely overreacting when it comes to that. But seriously, why are they just focusing on Finn Russell with that team? Like, Finn Russell wasn't the biggest thing when it comes to Scotland. Focus on Duan van der Merwe, the South African.
Exactly. I wanted to actually add that now because Duan van der Merwe scored the try of the year in that first game of the Six Nations against England. And where Brevan said it was well produced, I think they lacked a bit. They scored he scored the try of the year, and they hardly showed that try of the year. I know in the next episode they do show it, but there's like slow motion glimpse there. Then they look at a reaction of a person there, and no, show us the damn try. And Finn Russell, they praising this oak, but he makes mistake after mistake after mistake, kicks against the pole, mistake after mistake, does one thing. Oh, he's the GOAT of rugby. How?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, totally agree. Anyway, let's move on to the things that matter, and that is the Six Nations. This weekend it's starting, boys. I want early predictions. Who's winning the championship?
I just said, sorry, Brevan, I know you want to go so badly because I'm just ranting and probably annoying the shit out of everyone, but I just said how dismal Finn Russell is, but I am standing by Scotland winning this Six Nations.
First time,
if that happens, I will be very happy because if I had to really back a team from the Northern Hemisphere, it would be Scotland. But I'm going to stick with what I've been saying the whole time. It's obviously a very protected call, but I still think Ireland will go back to back because I just see them having enough to beat the rest of the teams in the Six Nations. Obviously, Johnny Sexton not there, but I don't think Johnny Sexton's role in that team was as important as people thought. I still think they could put another 10 in there that can do the exact same job as Johnny Sexton. So I think they'll have the same structure. And yeah, I just think with France missing Dupont, that is a big loss for France because that is their guy. I mean, we saw desperately they wanted him in the quarterfinal against the Springboks. So I think they might just miss him a little bit too much.
I agree with you on the Ireland statement. I think they will still be good. I think they might even be a better. I think they might even be a better team without Sexton, with Crawley in there. I think Crawley is a much better player than Johnny Sexton. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but I mean, it's my opinion. But I'm not going with Ireland to win it. I want Scotland, of course, to win it. So many South Africans. You love the underdog story. First time in history. I think on the documentary they said they never won the first 2 games of a Six Nations, and they did that last season. I can't remember. Did they win 3 in a row? I'm not too sure. So they can go for that type of history because when it comes to the Six Nations, you kind of need to get the clean sweep to win the tournament. We've seen it now twice in a row. Ireland doing the clean sweep and France doing it the year before that. I've got France to still win it. And the main thing for me is that home ground advantage. The biggest game of the tournament is obviously Ireland versus France, and that's in the first weekend, and that's being played in France. I think that's a statement performance for them. Coming straight off the World Cup, the people are still fired up after being knocked out in the World Cup where they were the favourites. I think they come out as a couple of hungry lions, and they put it on Ireland and sneak the victory. And that altogether means they win the championship.
So where I a little bit disagree there is, so I saw now that Aldrit he's been announced as the French captain, and he may be a good player or whatever. I think he's a bit hot-headed, and I don't think he's a great leader. I think whenever he's like a Johnny Sexton. He likes to backchat a ref, not as severe as a Sexton would, but he doesn't respect the ref, if that makes any sense. I don't think I'm getting out what I want to say, but it's down the lines of he's not a good leader for me. And then also, I think that game in France is going to be a draw, and then Scotland's going to get their necessary win to pip both of those teams.
Damn. Draw. That's bold. If you're feeling lucky, you might want to put a $5 on a bet side because
we're not allowed to say that on this podcast. We apologize.
Sorry, my bad. But yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from with the whole France thing. Obviously, home ground advantage is really important in those types of games. And France are a dangerous side. We always know this. Obviously, the world champs got it done, but we had to work to get it done. So, and it will be the same for Ireland. They will have to work for that victory. But I just see them having a little bit too much. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, that's happening first game of the whole tournament. So let's have a look at that. I think that's a brilliant
way to start the tournament, though. It's the thing is, we kind of miss the golden days of the Six Nations, where it's like so many teams competing for the tournament. The fact that we kind of think the winner of that game already kind of wins the tournament. I know Brett made the bold shout, but if you had to be super realistic and play it safe, you're the winner of that game, they just win the tournament. Imagine if you had the France and Ireland of now and the history of England that actually performs, Wales that did the clean sweep, what was it, in 2019, 2020, around that place. And then you have the Italy of 2 seasons ago that actually beat Australia as well. Just an exciting tournament where you can possibly see some upsets. I don't feel we have it this season. Would you agree?
No. So I think that Italy is going to. Yes, I'm probably now that guy that's just backing all the underdogs and hoping for a miracle. But I do think that Italy, they're going to cause an upset or two. I don't think they're going to get the wooden spoon, and I don't think that France is going to end this thing as a winning. Neither France or Ireland. Okay, I already said that, but I don't think that Italy's getting a wooden spoon. So I think we're going to see some good upsets.
Yeah. So obviously, in the going back to the documentary, we saw Italy was featured for a bit for majority of episode 2. And Negri, who is born in Zimbabwe, and obviously his parents are Italian, so he can play for Italy. Just looking at the vibe within in the Italy camp from looking at that documentary, it's almost like they're a good side and they have capabilities to be a good side. It's just they just lack that something. They lack that those players that can just go that extra mile, carry a team. So they almost lack composure. Italy, I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and win a game. And I can honestly see Wales struggling as well, because I see they've named a new captain and a guy that I'm not too sure of. I can't even remember his name, but from what I've seen, he's just not like if we look at Wales, they are just not the same. And I think Italy have a real chance to beat Wales, the Six Nations. So that will be interesting.
Well, I kind of agree with Brett, but exactly what he said, and I'm disagreeing with Brevan. I've got that on Wales. I don't think Wales is going to be as bad as everyone says. I think Warren Gatland just knows how to get the best out of that team. Doesn't matter who he puts on the field, they will never be as bad as they were before or after Warren Gatland. He just knows how to work with that players. I think he motivates them. I think he's one of those guys that he's kind of like the Rassie of Wales. He just knows how to get the best out of every single guy. And I see them getting a couple of upsets. So I've got Wales to place 4th. Now, I know it's not the best, but the way that they've been playing, I've got them placing above Italy, and I've got them to place above England. I think they get 2 victories. They beat Italy, and I think they beat England as well.
So, to go back to what Brevan said, I when I watched this documentary, and I've actually been feeling this for most of my life when I watch Italy play rugby, it's you know when you're watching a team that's in a tier 1 division, like our club level. Brevan and I last year we played in 2 different leagues, both in Joburg, and you look at a game of the varsities and it's just flair, physicality, flair, and it's just like this, beautiful to watch. Then you watch a league lower, then you get guys that they're thrown into the first side because they came to practice, not because they're any good, and they can't pass to the left and stuff like that. That's the vibes I get of Italy. Like they need a few superstars, and they need somebody that just wants to destroy someone, like hard hitting, run with everything in them, and not hold back when they're on the line to defend. And they also look like they're always the most unfit side in the whole Six Nations. Like that just blows my mind. Like, yeah, it's my thought process.
Well, I just think Italy, right, when they get it right at certain times, they look like one of the most beautiful teams to watch play some attacking, running rugby. And that's why you always have like this kind of hope that Italy will be good, the same that we had in the World Cup. And then they just like get blown out of the water every now and again. So I don't think Italy performs too well. I think they play well, but they don't get the results. I think Wales play shocking rugby, but they'll get the results and they'll win a couple of games. And I'm not trying even to be mean to the likes of England, but I don't see England winning the Gallagher Cup. I think they've lost it 4 seasons in a row now against Scotland, because we all back Scotland to actually do it. I don't see England beating Ireland or France, because everyone's saying, listen, England, this World Cup is like the start of something new. They didn't play well in the World Cup. Like, I respect their performance that they put in against the Box, right? But that was one performance. They looked good in that first game against Argentina, but Argentina, like, do you want to give credit to England or say Argentina was shocking? Because Argentina probably had one of the worst performances you will ever see of a country. And I like Argentina, so I don't like slandering them. and then they scraped past Japan. We're not counting Chile. Easily could have lost that game against Fiji and should not have won the second game against Argentina. So people talking about England performing and actually winning this thing as an upset, it's not happening, people.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they'll win it at all. I don't think they'll beat the likes of a France and Ireland. But I personally believe if England approach the Six Nations in the sense of how they approach the semi-final against the Box, I just think it's the most basic. I mean, it's exactly what we did when we had to go back to the basics, get your teams under pressure by just playing a kicking game, contest the balls, and if they can execute that, I think they could probably finish fourth or third, depending on how that Scottish game goes. It's just tough when you go up against Scotland at Murrayfield, especially in that rivalry. But I just think England don't need to overcomplicate things. Just make it as simple as possible. It worked for you in the semi-final. If you can go with that approach, it's obviously not good rugby to watch, but I don't think they have the players to play good rugby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and to add to it, they lost two of their best players. So I know I slandered Owen Farrell in the previous video, but I mean, he is crucial to that English side and the way that they want to play. So no Farrell, who's your captain, like I would give him that he's a very good leader. You lost him, and then Courtney Laws is probably the best player in England at the moment, and he's not playing for them either. So that's two massive losses, and you've got a coach that doesn't know how to coach, in my opinion. I really don't rate Steve Borthwick. The guy's got a soothing voice. I could listen to him as ASMR and I could fall asleep. But other than that, he just sounds like he doesn't know anything about the rugby. He's trying to sound smart, but you don't see it on the field.
Sorry, I'm changing the subjects a bit, yeah. Not because I'm a Borthwick fan or anything. I just don't want to talk about the Oak. When does Reno Smith become eligible to play for Italy? He's doing very well for Benetton. I think that this Oak needs to wear the blue jersey and he should be playing in the Six Nations.
That could be very interesting.
If I'm correct, I'm not 100% sure, so I can't put my word on this. But from what I understand, he would have to pass something like 2 or 3 years, 4 years, and then he has to pass an Italian exam, if I'm correct, and that gives him eligibility to be able to play. Because I know Italy is quite strict in the way they deal with their citizenship. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think, how long has he been playing for Benetton now?
A couple of
2020.
years.
That was in 2020. They can't really count it because of lockdown.
Yeah, but it should. I think it's a great call. You make complete sense, and I think it would be great for Italy. But I mean, the Italians kind of need to do what the Japanese are doing. I mean, obviously the Japanese, they have their Japanese players, but they have a lot of players that come from the likes of New Zealand, obviously some South African. So if the Italians could get that kind of get that flow in the Italian camp, obviously not just relying on pure Italians, like allowing the South Africans and whoever stays there to be able to be eligible, they could be a real force to be reckoned with. Not obviously like massive, but they can really improve the way they have been performing over the past few seasons.
Yeah. Okay, boys. So I've got 2 questions for you, and this is to round up the last 5 minutes of the podcast. Each one of you, give me the 3 games of this tournament that you are looking forward to the most. Doesn't need to be game-changing tournaments or, for instance, France or Ireland, just games that you are excited to see, whether it's a rivalry or always a fun game to watch. What are the 3 games you're picking that you want to watch?
So, yeah, I'll go. So obviously that France Ireland game, first off on Friday, that is going to be an awesome game to watch, of course. Then a game that I really enjoy watching, purely because of the story behind the game, is obviously Scotland versus England. That is a massive game over there in the Northern Hemisphere. And Murrayfield has to be, I mean, everyone knows me as the emotional one on this podcast. So when I hear the Scottish national anthem, for some reason, it always will shed a tear, because it's an anthem that I can't help but get goosebumps, because obviously I have Scottish family, so I really respect the country as well. And that rivalry as a whole has so much meaning behind it. And as for a third one, I think Ireland versus England will be interesting, because if England can really upset the Irish, and if they can play that frustrating rugby they played against us, I think Ireland don't have the capability to almost thrive under pressure, if that makes sense, like the Box did. So if England can kind of pull out the same performance they did against us, against Ireland, I think that will be a good game to watch.
Okay, so my turn. I'm going for my first game that I've loved to watch this game since I was a kid, actually, because my mom is from England and my dad is from Ireland. So England, Ireland, that's just the game that it's historical to me. Like, that's the only time of the year that my dad would support Ireland. Other than that, he's a Springbok fan. But that game, he absolutely can't stand the English because of what him and my mom had going on. And then my second game is again Scotland versus England for the same reason Brevan just mentioned. And then I got the Italy game versus France, because I think that Italy knows that they came this close last year, and they feel like they can cause the upset of all upsets if they beat France.
That's massive. Do you know where that game is being played?
I don't. I was hoping
It's
you
being
would
played
know.
in France.
Oh.
Yeah,
No, it can't
chance.
be.
It
can't
is.
be.
Last year they played in Italy. So they'll
But
play
in
in
the
France.
documentary, they said you beat the World Cup favorites on their home turf. You almost beat the World Cup favorites on their home turf.
I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, they played in Italy. So if they played in Italy last season, they moved to France.
But either way, the venue for me is regardless of
Yeah,
what.
I mean,
So maybe someone in the comment section will rush to correct us. So we'll just leave it at that.
Well, I'm siding a bit. I like the first two that Brevan said, like just Ireland and France, because I think that's kind of the decider. Obviously, you have to put in one of the biggest rivalries between England and Scotland, and then another one that I'm looking forward to is the rematch that we had in the World Cup between Scotland and Ireland, because I think Scotland might target that game as the one that they need to kind of secure competitiveness in this tournament. Like, I think they feel they could beat England. They've done it before. They've got the confidence in doing that. But to get one over a team that you lost against in the World Cup, I think that's a massive step forward for them. And I think that is the one game that they are truly targeting. I actually forgot. I actually saw a photo on Twitter the other day of the big names that we are missing in this Six Nations. Do you think it's a detriment to the tournament, or do you think the tournament just goes on as previously? Because we got no Alan Wynne-Jones, no Stuart Hogg, no Antoine Dupont, no Owen Farrell. Am I missing something? No Johnny Sexton. So each one of the teams actually missing someone big. Do you think that plays a big role, or do you think everything just continues? It's time for some new guys to come through.
Yeah, so I think it actually makes it a bit more exciting, because those are old players that people are like, oh, it's going to be the same people that we see every year. Now there's some excitement to see these youngsters step up and see what they can do, because they, in all of their respective positions, they have big boots to fill. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for some of these guys. Just walk in, slot in, play your best, and boom, you're the new hero of your team. No, you have big boots to fill. So first deal with that pressure, then deal with other pressure, and the fans want to see those guys ball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just to round off the podcast, I'm gonna name the positions.
No,
Sorry.
I'm pretty much going to say the same thing. So go for it, casual.
So just to end off the podcast, I'm gonna name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you guys are gonna tell me who ends in that position. Rapid fire. You can't think about it too much. Okay. This is Brett versus Brevan. I'm not forfeiting. I'm just giving Brett away because he's no more challenge. It's not a challenge anymore. He doesn't have the rugby knowledge. He's not good at predicting things. So it's just the two of you. Okay. 1. Who gets the first position? Who's the winner?
Ireland.
Scotland.
Okay. 2.
Ireland.
France.
3.
France.
England.
Ooh. 4.
Scotland.
England.
So Brevan's got England to get back the Gallagher Cup. He's just snuck it in there. He hasn't even said anything about it. Okay. Now
Quick five, man.
who gets the wooden spoon? 6.
Wales.
Well, I'm going against both of you. I'm backing the Welsh boys. Thank you, everyone for watching this episode. No, Brett, you don't get another say. You don't get another say.
I have a question. Sorry, I just have a question. Before we end this episode, I just want to ask Brevan, this is a very important question because so yesterday the Bulls played against the Lions, the only URC game. I just want to ask Brevan quickly, how are you doing? Because your superstar Bulls that are so high up on the log almost lost at home, if it wasn't for one kick, to the Lions. Are you okay?
So, I've been waiting for this moment, right? We were actually not going to even do it, but I'm going to give it to you guys. So if you made it this far, be ready for this round. First of all, Bulls, what are you doing, guys? For real? Like, I think my neighborhood may file like 5 noise complaints. I might be getting a fine of like, I don't know, a couple thousand because, my lord, I swear the Bulls decided to give me grays yesterday. But first of all, how can we take the Lions so lightly? Second of all, why don't we want to play rugby? Third of all, Jake White, if you bring that style of rugby back to Loftus, I swear the Wallabies can have you. Why do we always look so good and then look so bad? But yeah, Johan Goosen, thank you for having a clutch moment. But Bulls, please be better because I nearly lost my mind. I could say a lot worse, but I don't want you on my team. So I'm giving you one more chance. Okay, thanks. That's all I have to say.
I've seen so many opportunities blundered in one game, like the Bulls did yesterday. I mean, just look at that Akker van der Merwe chance. It's 2 big guys running down on Noamba, the smallest guy on the field, and he throws an interception pass. Like, Noamba didn't even commit to the tackle. He could have just ran straight through.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. No, Noamba had a decent game, to be fair. What a drop goals. I mean, have you ever seen a guy step
Wait. Yes, great drop goal. But how on earth do you let the guy do a spinneroo, then he missed the tackle, then he does another spinneroo, then he looks at the post, then he looks at the ball, then he looks at the post, then he kicks it like... Oh, God. Anyway.
I just want to... So Casual Bias, in the previous episode... in like 2 minutes ago, you said that I don't have the ball knowledge. I just want to say that in our previous episode, when we predicted this game, I called exactly what was going to happen with the Lions-Bulls game. I said it's going to be super close, and the Bulls might just edge it at the end. So now I'll give your outro to the episode.
Congratulations, Brett. And in the end, I also said the Bulls is going to win. So what are you talking about? You just had a closer prediction, but we both predicted the same thing. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. This was Safa's Unscripted. Good luck to all the teams playing in the Six Nations. I know it's only a tier 2 tournament, but it's still, you got to pay your respects to it. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. We are on Spotify as well. Go make sure to listen to us there if you don't want to see our ugly little faces. That was talking about Brett, obviously. Thank you very much. See you next time. Sayonara.
The only married guy.